Hi guys, Allison here, the Bored Housewife. Thank you so much for joining me for another week's episode of the Bored Housewife. This week we are going into part 2 of the philosophy of body positivity. There are going to be 3 parts now. So I know last week's episode I wasn't sure if there'd be 1 or 2, and then as I started to talk a lot, I was like, okay, we're definitely going to be doing 2, but now we're definitely going to be doing 3. So there's just a lot to unpack. And last week we were talking about intuitive eating. And as I was talking about it, and like even when I was making the outline for this week or for that week, I started to realize that it was important to explain what intuitive eating is because it was so important, and especially reading that book, that specific intuitive eating book. I don't think those ladies necessarily invented intuitive eating, but they certainly had a big part in making it a movement in a sort of way. And maybe they did kind of invent it, I don't know, but it's the idea that we're all born with knowledge of what we need for ourselves and how to take care of ourselves. It's instinctual. And then through our culture and society and just the different influences that we have in our life, both through family and through the media, maybe through your friends, you start to unlearn things that are natural and you start to do things and you pick up bad habits and it causes a lot of confusion. And so if you did not listen to last week's episode, I highly recommend it. I'm going to go over a little bit of intuitive eating this week, but I'm mostly focusing on 2 of the parts in the book that really stuck out to me, which are diets fail you, you don't fail diets, and learning to accept the current body you have. So if you're on any sort of, you are trying to lose weight, and I'm going to make this clear in a minute, but I do want to say, like, if you are in a calorie deficit, if you are actively trying to lose weight, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that there are positive ways to go about trying to lose weight. For me, actively counting calories and doing things to lose weight, I mentally can't really handle it. I start to get in crazy person mode. So at this point in my life, intuitive eating has really spoken to me because it's given me permission to just be myself and to really start to listen to my body and what my body needs and wants and pick up on, certain cues that I've ignored for a really long time. So at least at this point in my life, that's where I'm at. That doesn't mean that maybe in the future when I have a better outlook on how I feel about myself and how I look, maybe I'll try to go in a deficit to lose some weight or, all of that stuff is fine. It's just with the intention that you're bringing to it, right? So I know last week I probably sounded like really preachy with the intuitive eating thing. It's not necessarily for everyone, but it is for you if you're tired of the diet culture and especially if you want to feel good about who you are. I lost so much weight and I still thought I was fat. I would look in the mirror and there would be certain days when I would have, a better outlook, but most of the time I was still like pinching my body, like, oh, I still have fat here. And it's like, shaming myself for eating certain things or looking a certain way or not fitting in certain clothes. So we're going to get into both of those ideas today. And again, I just wanted to talk about the intuitive eating because if it wasn't for that book and this sort of, method or ideology or however you want to talk about it, if it wasn't for this, I would not be where I am today. So that's really why I wanted to talk about it. And some of the things that they talk about has really inspired a lot of the thoughts that I have, if not possibly coming from the book itself. So anyways, so we should get into it. If you are enjoying these episodes, if you are finding them inspiring, please share with a friend. I would love to build our community. In the description, you can check out my website, sign up for the monthly newsletter. You can, which should be coming out or should already be out if you're watching this now. I haven't made it yet, making this episode, but it will be out beginning of July. So check that out. I have a blog on there too that I sometimes make posts. What else? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Oh, okay, I'm going to say this for the end of the episode, but okay, I'm going to save it for the end of the episode because it doesn't matter right now. Anyways, all that stuff is fun, right? So check all that out. Link in the description will take you there. And yeah, this week I am sipping on a glass of rosé. It is so hot outside, and I just crave rosé all the time. It's delicious, it's refreshing, it's great. So grab your beverage of choice for whatever time of day that calls for. And cheers, guys. Let's have some fun. Real quick, before I get started, I just wanted to introduce this book again. I like to give credit to where credit is due. So this is more specifically, the 4th edition, fully revised and updated, Make Peace with Food, Free Yourself from Chronic Dieting Forever, Rediscover the Pleasures of Eating, Intuitive Eating, A Revolutionary Anti-Diet Approach by Evelyn Tribal and Elise Resch. Anyways, I cannot spell their names, but they look and sound very official. They have some great advice. So there is this book. And then if you buy this book and you try it out, I really recommend getting the intuitive eating workbook that goes along with it. This book, again, really drove home a lot of the ideas that they were talking about in the book. It gives you exercises I talked about last week, how I think that mental health and weight loss should go hand in hand, because I think there are so many things that we do that are habitual that are confusing, and we have so many things that are telling us and different things and pulling us in different directions. And so and then also, where do these habits stem from? Usually I would think that this is my opinion. I don't know if this is true or not. This is my opinion. I think most people who have issues with their weight, whether they are overweight or not, but anyone who's like a chronic dieter, I think you've had some sort of trauma in your life, and not to sound super dramatic, but there's, because it doesn't have to be dramatic, but there's been some experiences in your life that has led you to feel these certain ways, especially if you're someone who has low self-worth, you think, you have negative body image, all of those sorts of things. That doesn't happen because that's who you are. Things have led up to it, whether it is just influences from the media or whatever. I think a lot of us have something, and I have a really hard time pinpointing where mine comes from. I think I have an idea, but I also think that mine comes from the dance world, and I've kind of shared that before. It was specifically not my dance teachers. I will say that. They never, ever made us feel insecure. They were always very body positive. Actually, the body positivity that I do have probably comes from my mother and my dance teachers. So, excuse me, if any of them ever hear anything about that, I want to make it very clear it's not them. But there were some girls in my class, and then just pressures that I put on myself that made me feel insecure. So, and then, watching the community in general, it just kind of breeds that a little bit. And you watch movies where they're talking about it, and some of my favorite movies, the girls, Center Stage, for instance, she's dealing with an anorexic issue, and this is a total tangent right now, but I think, like, in a movie like that, the movie's great. It's so much fun. But in a movie like that, they're trying to bring light to a scenario. But when you have young kids, which, maybe that movie was a little bit more adult than what I should have been watching at the time. But when you have young kids watching this, they're very impressionable. So I'm seeing this girl being portrayed as this, like, beautiful, amazing prima ballerina, and she has a bulimic issue. She's kind of anorexic, and then she ends up being bulimic as well. So, that stuff, even though it's like negative and how it's being portrayed, it's still influential. She has this issue because she feels pressure, and they talk about their bodies and how they even talk about the main character in the movie. They're very frank about her kind of being a little too big. I think there's another girl in the movie, she gets kicked out because she's too big. So, the movie is trying to portray this, but then you have these young girls who, potentially want to do this, and so it starts to get in your head. Anyways, that was yeah. So my point is, whether it was maybe influences from my friends or things that were said to me from people that I danced with in the dance community, and then some other things that I can specifically remember kind of being said to me growing up, even though it's not like, oh my God, that's so traumatic, like, it's definitely influenced a lot of how I feel about myself. So, the workbook, let me get back on track here. The workbook really helped me figure that out. I didn't realize, I didn't realize where a lot of this was coming from. So if you do the regular book and you like what they have to say, get the workbook as well, because it'll really help you figure out where all these sorts of thoughts and feelings and stuff are coming from. They talk a lot about, or they talk about how diets fail you, you don't fail the diet. And to me, when I read that, it was like revolutionary. I had never had that thought before, and it just cracked open the entire industry. I am now so passionate about this. I thought that was such, like, a revolutionary idea. I never thought of it that way before, and I don't know how you guys think about it, but basically this industry, and when I say this industry, I'm talking about anything that's promoting fitness. Now, that doesn't mean that people don't have good intentions, so let me start saying this. People might have very well intentions, okay? If you're part of a fitness club, or if you're part of, like, one of those boutique shops, especially that do, like, spin or Pilates or Pure Barre or whatever, all of those things, I'm sure these people have really great intentions, right? And even they're not necessarily the issue. It's more of, like, the stuff that's promoted that is a fitness aid, whether it's like weight loss pills or certain supplements, vitamins, certain type of diets. And so a lot of this stuff, like, it's made, and so I'm going to talk about keto for a second. If anyone does keto, I highly recommend that you stop, but I'm no nutritionist, I'm no whatever, okay? So you do whatever you want. I personally would never do keto. And I personally wouldn't ever do a diet that's asking me to restrict any sort of food source. And so basically, like, what these things are set up, and then people are able to market off of them, right? So you have keto, and then once you decide to start to do keto, here's all this stuff that we can sell you on keto. Even vegan. I know a lot of people do vegans for, like, their moral reasons or whatever. I disagree with that, but if that's something that you're really passionate about, okay. But they have so much shit that they can sell you on vegan. So it really behooves these companies if they get as many people on board. And I never really thought of it this way. And so it's like when you use the health industry, the fitness industry, different diets. I mean, even Weight Watchers as well. Like a lot of these things, like in this book, they hate they hate Weight Watchers. It's not necessarily that they have like super evil intentions, but if you fail, then it makes you come back again, right? So this whole time we're thinking to ourselves like, oh, like I'm going to start this new diet. So let's take this scenario, right? I'm going to do this new diet. I'm going to do keto, okay? A lot of people, when they stop doing keto, they gain the weight right back because you're cutting out certain food groups that your body actually needs. So keto is actually failing you because it's impossible to keep on keto and stay in ketosis for a steady amount of time. Eventually, when you start eating regular food again, or you start to bring in other food groups that you've cut out, your body is going to crave those things. And, I could be a little bit wrong on this, so don't take me word for word. But, even just introducing these other things, your body's going to like absorb them up and you're going to gain weight. So if you don't mind the yo-yo dieting and going on it and off it and on and off it, whatever. If you have a big event and you're like, I just need to look good for this one event and then I don't care. Okay, do those sorts of things. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to shame in any sort of way. But I just was like, my eyes open to the fact that these industries want you to fail. They need you to fail. Think about it, like in any sort of scenario, right? If anybody gets better, if anybody is cured, right? So you're cured of your weight gain, right? Then what is there to sell you? What kind of program is there to sell you on? There isn't. Once you figure out what is there to sell. And so there's a lot more people that are coming out and speaking about things. I just saw a TikTok today of this guy. He had this heart-shaped plate, and he had like 2 hamburgers on it. He had peas and carrots, and then he had like a mashed sweet potato. Relatively healthy meal. And so he starts out, if you want to be big and strong, and then it cuts to some like Arnold Schwarzenegger being like, you don't need meat to be healthy. Meat's bad for you, because he's on some vegan kick now, I guess. I don't know. I don't quite fully understand it. But, okay, so he, like, throws that in the garbage. Okay, well, we still have, like, potatoes here. And then he cuts to somebody else. Potatoes are horrible for you. Okay, well, we still have these vegetables. And he cuts someone else. Some vegetables are really bad for you. It's just like there could be anything in the world that they can decide is bad for you. And, to be honest, like, if you can overeat vegetables, you can overeat meat, you can overeat bread, you can overeat anything, right? And that's how people gain weight, is because they're consuming too many calories. So the only way to lose weight is to be in a calorie deficit. And so there are some people that are coming out and they're trying to make the point, like, you have to eat, you have to consume food. And so this is what I want to get into next. So because they're trying to sell you on these different diet plans and they've come up with these things, and it doesn't mean that they might work, but the thing is you have to figure out what's sustainable for you. And a lot of these diets, a lot of these meal plans, they're not sustainable for the long run, and some of them are very expensive. So even like the workouts and stuff, like I've gotten into several different workout regimens. I've gotten into several workout regimens, and they're hard to maintain. When they're too hard, when they take up too much of your time, they're hard to sustain. And so I end up quitting them. I don't stick with them. It's too much. So what I've realized, and okay, so basically I'm going to say this first and then I'm going to get in this other part. But what I'm finding is true, and what they talk about in the intuitive eating book, and then what my favorite influencers that are in the fitness world are talking about. If you want to lose weight, which losing weight is totally fine, you need to be in a slight calorie deficit. You need to lose the weight over a long period of time. If you're trying to lose weight and keep it off and have a lifestyle change, because that's what you need to do if you want to maintain your weight loss, then you need to be in a slight calorie deficit. And this takes trial and error, right? You got to figure out what's too much, what's too little. I'm realizing for myself right now, I'm not 100% positive, but I am trying to cut out the alcohol because I believe that with the food that I'm consuming, I would be in a deficit. But with the amount of alcohol that I'm drinking, and because alcohol has calories, surprise, surprise, wine certainly does, I guess, I am probably maintaining. So I'm not in a deficit with those calories. So I've cut out more alcohol. It's not like I'm cut it out completely, but I've cut it out quite a bit. And I noticed the scale started going down a little bit. So I did it more so because I thought I was drinking too much. So that's really why I did it. The scale going down is great. And if I'm also being totally honest, because I was mentioning this last week, and I'm going to mention it again here in a minute, but this episode's a ride, guys, okay? And it's probably going to be a little bit longer, and I'm sorry, but I'm just so passionate about this stuff. But yeah, so I I have clothes. I don't necessarily need to be a certain size, but I have clothes that I would like to fit into because I have them and I really like them, and it makes me sad that I can't fit in them anymore. So that's something I'm battling with right now. So I would like to be a little bit smaller, but I'm actually totally happy with the weight I'm at. So anyways, we're going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. But anyways, so be in a calorie deficit, exercise for like 30 minutes a day. And within your exercises, change them up. Do some strength training, resistance training sort of things, and get a little cardio in there. Honestly, like if you're new to all of it, just walking for a half hour every day, just walking is going to make a big difference in your life. And then once you get into a little bit more, find something that is sustainable for you. So I switch between walking. I have the Anna Victoria Fit Body app that I use, which is 3 days of strength training. And then I also do a yoga. I have a yoga subscription, and it's my favorite yoga studio. It's called Y7, and so they have an online subscription now, and I love it. So on the days that I don't feel like walking or strength training, I do yoga. And then the next thing is to get enough sleep and drink a lot of water. So these things are really simple, and people try to make all of this so much more than it needs to be. But it's hard to do. It's hard to be in a deficit. It's hard to get enough sleep. It's hard to commit even a half hour every day. But when you think of what other plans and programs are asking of you, it's actually a lot more simple than what they make it out to be. So now I wanted to mention this other point. And I'm pointing all this out, and I really hope if you didn't know this already, and if you do know this stuff, I hope you're sitting there nodding and being like, amen, sister. But if you didn't know this stuff, I hope this is as eye-opening to you as it was to me. And I hope you get the intuitive eating book, because I'm just sick and tired of the bullshit. So the crazy thing is these diets demonize food. And they tell you, and they give morality to food. And it's so dumb. Or they give morality to certain body types, right? Oh, sorry, we're not there yet. They give morality to food, okay? They also give morality to body types. That's in the next part of this episode. But food that is more nutritious is going to do a lot more for you. And I say nutritious, and I kind of explained this a little bit last week, is because healthy is now one of those terms that has been marketed and, skewed. So you could have like a power bar and they could say that it's healthy and it's loaded with a shit ton of calories, and you're sitting there thinking you're doing something good, right? So that's the thing though. Like, they market these things as good or bad. So, eating chicken breast is good, but eating cookies is bad. And when you really think of that, it's like, how can food have morality? It cannot. And what you're really saying is you're a more virtuous person if you eat these things that are supposedly, more nutritious versus eating something that is, junk food. And the intuitive eating book, they really don't like to say junk food. They don't like to say healthy. They talk more about nutritious food and play food, because there should be a balance in your life. It's okay to have cookies, It's okay to eat bread. It's okay to eat pasta. In fact, you fucking need carbs. If you're on a diet that has you eating like no carbs, like, you're gonna fucking pass out. Like, you need carbs for energy, right? So demonizing these sorts of things and thinking that we can't have them is just complete nonsense. Instead, focus more on what can I do to like optimize my energy levels? What can I do to make me feel my best? And then sometimes, guess what? You're going to have a night of drinking and indulgent eating, and it's going to be super fun. You might wake up the next day and be like, wow, I really felt that meal, but now I can move on and live my life. It's like every single day is a brand new day to do something new and make choices. So I love having that mentality of, a lot of the diet industry, or not diet, but just like some of the fitness people that I follow, they talk about having like an 80-20 life balance, where 80% of the time you're making nutritious options for yourself that are going to help you feel good. And then 20% of the time you have that play food that, is fun to eat. You enjoy the cookie, or you enjoy the piece of cake, or you enjoy, the more heavy cream, whatever, indulgent meal that's like super delicious. So, we have to give ourselves that, because food is part of our culture. Food is something that brings us together, and you hear it, you see it from people that are talking about doing extreme dieting and doing extreme stuff. They can't hang out with other people. When they cut out too many different things, it's really hard for them to socialize, because we socialize so much around food and drinks and all that stuff. And so, you can still, try to go to those things and be social if you're trying to cut back. But, you could also just not eat everything. So some of that is just literally portion control. If you're going to a nice meal at somebody's house, you can maybe not eat all of the appetizer and focus on whatever the main dish is. A lot of times, we have the Marine Corps Ball every year, okay? They have like a few different courses that come out throughout the night, and the meal is not unhealthy by any means. It's usually a protein with a starch and a vegetable, and that's a really well-rounded meal. Now, whether that meal has too much on the plate or not is up to you. Are you hungry or not hungry? Like, where is your fullness level at? But so much of what we do is we overeat things. And so it's really not fair to demonize food or consider someone more virtuous because they don't ever have cookies. It's just fucking insane. Like, cookie is just a cookie. You can't give any sort of value or meaning to it other than the fact that, this is a good cookie or this is a bad cookie based on how it's baked, Like, this cookie was made well and this one wasn't. So, okay. And, that's another thing as well. Like, if you're eating something and it's not enjoyable, then stop eating it. Like, unless you're doing it out of, politeness or something. If someone invites you over for dinner, and you don't like what they made, I mean, maybe you would eat it that evening to be polite, but like on a regular basis, if you go out and you buy a cookie and it tastes like shit, then fucking throw the cookie away. Don't sit there and continue to eat the cookie, you know? So I know all this sounds really obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me until I read the book. I'm like, well, I bought this cookie. I have to fucking eat it now. Like, no, you don't, Allison. You can literally throw the cookie away. So we need to stop demonizing our food. We need to stop giving ourselves the, like, you know, the virtue signaling because, oh, I eat well. Like, no, nobody gives a shit if you eat well or not. Are you happy? Like, what gives you joy every day? Life's too short to just eat plain ass chicken breast and broccoli every day. Is that super healthy? Yeah, it is. But like, is it really, I mean, if you love that, then go for it, right? Eat what you love. But it's like, you got to throw some, you know, things in there because it's life and there's things that come up. We have, you know, social things that we want to do, and it might ask you to have a slice of pizza, you know, and that's totally okay. It's just about figuring these things out and, you know, not giving any sort of morality to our food. So the next part is, you know, get comfortable with the body that you currently have. And this was such a hard idea for me to get around because I'm like, I've never done like a lot of crazy diets, but I'm chronic calorie counter to the point where it's even hard for me sometimes to do the intuitive eating because I know how many calories are in the things that I eat, so I can still like mentally count it. So you got to let a lot of that stuff go, but getting with the body positivity part, especially at the weight that I was at and like kind of am at now, was really hard because I was unhappy, right? You're unhappy, you want to make a change, you want to lose weight. And it sucks when you don't have the body positivity part because this is what's happened to me so many times. Every time I lose weight, I never think it's enough. I lost quite a bit of weight, and I'm being very careful not to say how much I lost and not to focus on numbers because I know you guys, if you watch this, you only see me sitting down, and you know, I just think that like the numbers don't matter. So all of our bodies are different and we all hold weight differently, and it's not so much like I really wouldn't care sharing my weight. It's more so I'm trying not to aid in what that is because I know for myself, before I found this intuitive eating way, I used to like want to know how much the influencers weighed and what sizes they were, like, and their heights and all of that, so I could compare myself. And that is wrong. You should not be comparing yourself to anybody else. You are you, and your body is unique in whatever shape and size it is. So it doesn't matter what someone else's journey was. Yours is going to be different. It's going to take a different amount of time. It's going to require you to do different things, right? So that's why I'm being very careful not to say. But I will say I did lose a bunch of weight, and I was at the smallest I've been in my adult life, and I still thought that I was fat. And that's not okay. And so the idea of getting comfortable with what you look like today before any weight loss journey ensues is that if you're comfortable with this body, you're going to be comfortable with your body at any stage, right? So if you can't be comfortable with the weight that you're at now, and you know, you might need to lose weight. You might be in a point where it's uncomfortable being the size that you are. But to be able to at least look at yourself and be like, you know, this body is great and it does all this stuff for me is really important. So one of the first things to getting there is they talk about buying clothes that fit you. And one of the things specifically is buying underwear that fits you. So this is hard because, you know, again, it's a very vulnerable idea of like when you're not happy with what you look like and then looking at yourself in your underwear in the mirror. You know, but people's underwear would be too small, so it would be like digging in to their stomachs. And or if you have pants that are too tight, you have all the different marks and stuff, and it's super uncomfortable, and, sometimes it's hard to breathe. And so buy clothes, buy things that fit you. And this is when, I talk about the fashion industry not helping in this scenario, because I think the fast fashion trend has created a really toxic environment for people when they're, trying on clothes and trying different things. Somebody on one of my housewife pages made a post about how her grandmother was a seamstress back in the 50s, and women would basically, there would be like a dress, okay, that was on display. You would go and buy the fabric, and then the seamstress would take your measurements and she would make the dress to custom fit you. And then it would probably have like the store's label on it or whatever. But clothes were tailored to fit you, not the other way around. And so throughout time, that has obviously gone away. And maybe if you're wealthy, you do things like that, where you buy clothes and then you get them tailored to fit you. But not all of us, can afford to do that or have like the skill to tailor our own clothes. So with the fast fashion that has come out, I think that it's just created, these weird sizing things, and then we're expected to fit ourselves into these clothes versus the other way around. So again, we have now a backwards situation where, I'm buying your clothing and you're making me feel bad because it doesn't look good on me. And I really love this shirt or I really love this dress, but it is doing nothing for my figure. So either I buy it and look like shit, or I don't buy it and I feel like shit. So it's like, it's frustrating. But what I realized is that, I'll go up a size, or I guess I just am not going to buy this shirt today. And I've gotten a lot better at, like, I'll just go around the entire store, and if I think it's remotely cute, I'll just pick it up, and sometimes I pick it up in multiple sizes and I'll go try it on, because I no longer care about what the size of the tag says. If it says it's way bigger than I think I am, okay, what does it fucking matter? Like, are people going around and checking the sizes in your clothes? No, nobody gives a shit. Only you care about that. And so, there's language where people are like, oh, what size? And I think that's usually towards like the youth. Like, I remember in high school, us talking about stuff like that. And it's so dumb. Like, what? Like, who cares if my shirt's a small or a large? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. So, and a lot of times too, like, I was just telling my mom about this. Like, I usually can't buy rompers because the length, even if I buy like an extra large, sometimes the length doesn't fit me because I don't know why. I guess they think romper, like, I have a long torso and I have long legs. So I'll like try on all these different sizes, and then finally I might find a size that fits the length, but I'm small on top. So it's like, just because somebody has a long length doesn't mean they have giant boobs. So it's like, most of the time, if I find a romper that fits, I'm probably going to buy it, because very rarely do they fit me. And it's mostly because I'll have camel toe if I try to buy one that fits me in the top. So it's like, you can't care about that stuff. And it doesn't make you a better person because you fit in a size 0. Like, okay, good for you, Personally, I don't want to be that small. It's totally fine if you are. I'm not shaming anybody, but I really enjoy the curves that I have. So I like that, I have that. And I realize, like, there's just certain sizes that I'm never going to be because my body is not built that way at all. So, the fast fashion industry has not helped, I think, in how people perceive themselves, because it's hard to go in and go up a size when you think you're a certain size. But the reality is, you can't care, right? Because clothes, the industry is what it is, and you have to accept it, and you just have to go in there with an open mind and really just hope that you can find something that looks decent on you, because I think it's even hard. Some of these clothes are made so shitty these days. It's just hard to find stuff that even remotely looks good no matter the size. Okay, so my last point that I'm going to make before I wrap it up here is that, again, having the body positivity and just owning what you have right now is so important. And to put it in another perspective for you, it's this body is doing so much for you right now. You might be sore, you might be uncomfortable, you might be whatever, but like wherever, whatever stage you're in that, or like wherever you're at, um, this body is getting you through. It's waking you up every day. It's breathing. It's enjoying things for you. It's seeing things. You know, this body does so much. And the fact that at, you know, some points I'm pinching my stomach, being like, this extra fat, or, you know, shaming myself looking in the mirror because I have stretch marks or cellulite. It's just fucking ridiculous. And it's like, I know this part's kind of preached a little bit more, but like, really think about it with the morality side of it. Like, are you a more virtuous person because you're skinnier? No. Like, we don't know who, like, it doesn't make you a better person because you look a certain way, and it doesn't make you a bad person because you look a certain way. So, like, really think about when you're, if you're in a stage, if you're unhappy with how you look, it's okay to want better for yourself. So I do want to make that clear. Like, it's okay to want to get in better shape. It's okay to want to feel stronger. It's okay to want to be able to do stuff. And I think, like, with some exercise and sleep and with a, you know, nutritious diet, you can do so much, and you can feel so much better, and things can be more clear. You know, when we put certain stuff in our bodies, like I've been talking a lot about cutting back on caffeine. It's like, you know, that's, caffeine is a drug. So I didn't realize the effect it had on me. And now that I've, you know, cut back on it, I'm feeling a lot better. But it's like, you know, this body, if you're on the beginning of your weight loss journey, or if you're thinking about, you know, I need to start being more active or this or that, this body is going to start that for you. This body is going to have to deal with the pain and soreness of starting it. This body is going to have to push through those parts that are really hard because it's been a while since you've done anything. And it's really important to honor that and to appreciate what it can do for you, because this is it, right? This is your body. You don't have any other. You can't go trade it in for something else. Even like now that I'm starting to get a little bit older, I'm starting to notice some like wrinkles around the eyes and in the forehead. And it's like, you know, I'm getting old. So what? Like, it is what it is. I'm not totally against the idea of Botox. But I'm just like, you know, I would like to age gracefully, and at this point, I am not interested in it. But we'll see. I'm not totally against the idea, but and if you are somebody who does those sorts of things, again, no shaming here, no judgment. It's totally fine. But it's like, you know, we're getting older. We're gonna die someday. These are things that are inevitable. So it's just like, embrace what you have today. You're not gonna be any younger than you are today. You're not gonna be, I mean, you could be healthier, you could be thinner, you could be fitter, and all of that. But, you know, going forward every day, it's going to get a little bit harder because you are getting a little bit older. But, you know, even if you're in your 60s or your 70s, it's not too late for you. You can still wake up and try to do something new. Every single day that you wake up and you're breathing and you're alive is an opportunity to try something and go for it. And again, just appreciate. And I guess to say, for me, I have gotten so much better. I tried this swimsuit on the other day that when I was at my, again, when I lost all that weight, I thought looked like shit on me. I wouldn't wear it because I thought it looked bad on me. And I tried it on the other day, and I'm like, I am fucking an insane person because I think today this looks totally fine. Like, sure, I got a little bit of, a little something on the side, but whatever. It's just my body, and this does not look bad. This does not look bad. So it's all about your perspective. And I guess for me, I just, I decided like it took a long time, and I'm still working on it. I'm not 100% there. I still have my bad days. And also too, like, there are some things that, if you try on an outfit and it doesn't look good, it just isn't the right outfit for you. It doesn't mean that it's because you're too fat or too busty or too hippie or whatever your issue is. It just means that's not the shirt for you or dress or pants for you, right? Or maybe you need to go up a size for it to look good. So, that's not body shaming. That's just being like, you know what, this doesn't flatter me, and I want to wear things that are flattering, right? It's a difference when, you're standing there being like, saying mean things to yourself and, doing weird things like pinching and pulling your body in certain ways so that it looks better. So, one thing that I did is I just started to tell myself that this body does a lot for me. This body, gets me up every day. I need to start appreciating it. So I started saying stuff like that. And then, the parts that were a little fluffy or chubby or however you want to say it, I'm like, you know what? This is kind of cute. I think this is cute. And so I just started to kind of compliment the flaws. And I started to sort of look at them a little differently. I'm like, okay, so this is, my arm's a little bit big. Okay, whatever. Like, it's my arm, So it's like, whatever. Or like, oh, I have like a little pooch here. Like, okay, well, I think it's actually kind of cute. Like, let's make this adorable. So, or my stretch marks. It's like, I have stretch marks on my legs. Like, okay, I have cellulite on my legs. Like, well, that's not going anywhere. So are we going to not wear swimsuits? Are we not going to wear shorts? Are we not going to wear skirts or dresses because you have some cellulite on your legs? Like, what are you going to do about it? There's absolutely nothing I can do about it. So it is what it is, right? And people can look at it and think mean things, but again, I can't control what other people do. I can't control what they think. All I can do is control myself, how I think, how I feel. And I'm going to tell you, I feel a lot better when I speak nicely to myself, when I allow myself to wear things that I want to wear that I think are cute and not worry about, do I look, too chubby, or does my cellulite look bad, So, anyways. Okay, thank you guys. I hope this was insightful, and next week we're going to get more into the morality of all this. So next week is definitely going to be more of a philosophical look. But I hope this gave you some things to think about. I hope it's inspired you. I think as women and as men, it's, we have a hard time with this. It's hard getting into the gym. It's hard doing things that are new, and it's hard accepting things about ourselves. So, I just, wherever you're at, because I feel like we're all dealing with this all the time. Unless you have already gotten through all of this and you're at a great place in your life, then awesome. I hope you were able to listen to this and be like, yeah. But I think, a lot of us we struggle, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about intuitive eating. So I hope I shared something new with you to give you something to think about. Again, not that you need to do any of this, and you might be someone like, well, that all sounds well, but I need to be in a calorie deficit so I can lose some weight. Great, do that. Do whatever you need to do. But remember, like, all of this stuff, unless you're just doing it to lose weight for like an event or a vacation or something, which is, if you're down with that, by all means, that's not how I want to live my life. I want to live my life feeling good about myself. I want to live my life with a lifestyle that I can sustain. I want to live my life active. I want to live my life, eating with a nutritious mindset while also not shaming myself for indulging in things that I like. So, I want to enjoy life. I don't want to have all these restrictions and, feel guilty all the time and be constantly in the gym or doing some workout that's really hard to sustain. Like, no, I want it to seamlessly be in my life. And so it does take work. You do have to make commitments. It's not easy, but it's also not impossible. And, I think in our heads we make it out to be a lot harder than it needs to be. So, but when you start out with a good plan and you start incorporating some, just better habits that are going to be more in line with lifestyle that's going to make you feel good, then that's the first part. And then, also just feeling good about who you are, because if you can't be positive and feel good in the body that you currently have, when this body is doing so much for you already, how are you going to appreciate a body that might be, 20 or 30 pounds lighter? So, because you're not going to appreciate that body the same way. Your mind doesn't flip. You think it does. You think it will. You're like, oh, I can't wait this is another point. Yeah. I can't wait to be skinny. I'm going to feel so skinny. Guess what? Skinny and not skinny feel exactly the same way. You might feel slightly different if your clothes feel bigger on you because you're a little more comfortable and you're not restricted in your clothes, but it doesn't feel any different. Unless you're like, I guess if you're like very obese and it's hard to get around, you might feel different. But like, if you're just a normal person who has been holding on to more weight than you would like, and then you lose a bunch of weight, okay, I don't want to say normal. Sorry, I'm like trying to figure out my words, okay? If you're just a person who has, extra weight on them, is not obese, and you are trying to lose weight to look a certain way because you think that'll make you feel better, and you think you'll feel better, you're not. You're going to feel exactly the same. The only way you might feel different is if you're adding some more nutritious things and changing habits in a positive way and having clothes that actually fit you versus clothes that are too tight. But guess what? If you buy clothes that are super tight, you will feel the same. And I'm saying this from experience. And I was that size, and I still thought I looked fat, which is insane. It is so crazy. So, anyways, all right. That's all I have to say today. Next week, we're going to get more into the morality of it. Thank you for hanging out with me this long. I know I've been trying to keep these episodes a little shorter, but I'm just too passionate about this stuff and I have too much to say. So, yes, please like, comment, subscribe. Again, check out the description of my social media. Share with a friend if you're enjoying this stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and cheers. I'll see you soon. Bye.